My latest book in the Jacques McKeown saga, Will Destroy the Galaxy for Cash, is available now from Audible.com as an audiobook, obviously. That's kind of their whole thing. Just because we're in the midst of shooter season doesn't mean I can't take a break from all the fucking modern recons and ghost duties to have a look at an indie game that engages my interest now and again. It's like how the TV news usually ends with a heartwarming story about a cat that looks like Daniel Day-Lewis, in the vain hope of stopping the viewers from angrily dashing their brains out on the nearest solid object after all the horrible, infuriating things the rest of the news told them about. There are only so many ways I can talk about the grace and efficiency with which bullets go into the dudes I'm pointing at before it starts to feel less like an overused game mechanic and more like a suggestion for an invigorating Saturday afternoon. So I played Indivisible this week, which isn't a shooter, although it might be every other bloody genre. Get this, it's a Metroidvania platformer with a twist on JRPG-style active time battling that plays a bit like a fighting game, which might sound like a breakfast scramble made of eggs, twiglets, and pushpins, but I have to say it works. Or rather, it worked for a while. Tease of eventual opinion deployed, execute backtrack, initiate waffle. Indivisible comes to us from Lab Zero, the developers of Skullgirls, and as might be expected, is absolutely gorgeously animated in their characteristic Western anime style, or waname, as I like to call it. I say absolutely, the cast of characters is positively elephantine, so there are a few designs and animations here and there where it seems the enthusiasm might have been waning a bit, possibly being hurriedly polished off on a Friday afternoon, even as the tops were being popped off the box of wine coolers. The plot concerns the infuriatingly awkwardly spelled Ajna, a spunky teenage girl in a Ni no Kuni-esque dog's breakfast fantasy world where forest villages and steampunk cities rub shoulders like slightly acquainted colleagues in an undersized lift, who has been trained as a fighter from birth by her stern dad, and has only just established her protagonist credentials when she returns to her forest village to find it being forest pillaged by an imperialist army of baddies, and her stern dad has been made stone dead. Yeah, I'm guessing you weren't shooting for the creative writing prize, were you, Lab Zero? Shall I put us down for standard RPG fantasy package A12 then? Please direct me to the first of the several teenagers we will be enlisting to aid us in murdering God. Still, we're thrown a bit of a curveball early on when, while fighting the Imperial soldier who stone-deaded our stern dad, said soldier inexplicably turns into a spirit and is absorbed by Ajna's consciousness. Because it turns out Ajna has secret god power that lets her draw people into herself and then get them to fight for her, sort of like Pokemon but with human beings and therefore somehow even more ethically questionable. What this is in truth is the standard RPG metaphorical device where you ostensibly have a party with you but only the protagonist is visible, the other party members only popping miraculously out of your infinite butthole for battles and cutscenes. It's that, but tortuously squeezed into the mechanics of the plot. And aside from the fact it explains how an elderly bent old witch can keep up with Ajna as she dashes and wall jumps her way through a round of platforming challenges, they needn't have fucking bothered. The plot would work perfectly well without this element, or perhaps I should say the plot wouldn't work any worse without it. Second tease of eventual opinion deployed, shift gears, backtrack again. So about that combat. Touch an enemy in the platform world and you go into a Final Fantasy-esque team battle where characters can only attack when their action bar is full, but with each party member assigned to one of the face buttons and their attacks cracking off quickly enough that it feels more like inputting combos in Marvel vs. Capcom, or Skullgirls I suppose, or perhaps keepy-uppy, because extending your combo as long as you can typically involves juggling the enemy like you're a very old-fashioned patriarch and the ground is your virginal daughter. And this worked for me. I found it a refreshing take on turn-based JRPG battling that throws out the menus and plays up the smacking shit up like it's feces volleyball, with the pace and animation making it all kinds of juicy. The problem is, there's a moment in the game, and it's remarkable how finely I can pinpoint it, where an invisible lever gets thrown and the bottom drops out and it stops being fun. It's about the point when you meet the pirate lesbian and the world opens up, and you know we're in trouble when a pirate lesbian marks anything but an upturn in events. The problem is in the numbers. I don't know if they were originally making another fighting game and just got bored, but that might explain the ridiculous number of party members you get. This is some Chrono Cross level shit. The primest real estate in the world is a teenage girl's noggin apparently, and Ajna's beating the tenants off with a stick. But the combat isn't very deep, and all that really matters is doing the most damage as fast as you can, so you might as well just find 4 guys you like and stick with them. And post-pirate lesbian, something goes horribly wrong with the enemy's stats. I'd enter battle with a small unassuming frog, bum bounce them between my 4 lads for 20 minutes, then in that awkward post-coital cigarette break while I wait for everyone's bars to refill, I'd notice the frog still had 9/10 of their health bar left. I hit that frog 400 times. In a sane world it would no longer have more than 1 dimension, let alone health points, and it couldn't do much damage to me either, so now I'm just disinterestedly doing my super combo 6 times to kill 1 fucking frog. I feel like Rachmaninoff playing for pocket change in a dive bar and the crowd won't stop requesting Freebird. This really did kill the game for me, since the combat was the only really interesting one out of the several unrelated gameplay mechanics stitched clumsily together here. The platforming's generic at best, and if you forget to press dash before you press jump, then Ajna's standard jump can just about clear half a fucking drainage ditch. But it's the story that really ices my sticky underfolds. There's something unpleasantly Freedom Planet-y about Ajna the spunky wonder teen, around whom the whole world revolves. Every party member she meets blurts out their entire backstory and motivation like they're on a fucking speed date, but is then content to put their entire life and character development on hold so they can hang around Ajna's brain, passing the blunt around and help out with whatever she wants to do. It's writing on a level slightly below bottom tier mid-tier anime and slightly above first-time webcomic. About the only one with any depth is the bloke who killed Ajna's stern dad, something she gets over like a mild footballing injury, incidentally, which could have been an interesting dynamic. Ajna and her mortal enemy forced to be magically bound together, but all it means in practical terms is that he still goes along with whatever she wants to do, but with a grumpy face. And then every other character constantly dunks on him for not being in Ajna's best friend's club, and treats him like the whiny teenager on a family road trip, rather than, say, a proven and potentially dangerous hostile. So in summary, Indivisible, here's a trophy for the animation and a trophy for the bold spirit of core gameplay innovation, and now for everything else, here's 16 punches to the throat.